So this video is for Recitation 9 for this semester. So if you want, you could repeat this video for multiple times, just for self-study. And actually, you could pause for at any time during the video, just have some thinking. So if you go to Canvas, actually you could find this file, this Recitation 9 PowerPoint slides right here if you go inside this section 4 and 5. So I recommended you just download this PowerPoint and start it for yourself. Okay, so today's recitation, I'm going to go through maybe two important concepts. So the first one is going to be the loop, and second is going to be the array. Okay, so let's get started with the array first. So let's look at this picture. So for example, there's in many cases we need to divide things into different groups in order to better deal with particular situations. So maybe for this example, there's one group with 10 people inside. For some purpose, I want to distinguish each person in this group. So in order to do that, I give an index. Maybe I give index 0 to the first person. I give index 1 to the second person, and the index 2 to the third person. The reason I start giving index from 0 is that it's like a default in computer science. The number always start with a 0, so we start with 0 actually, and we give index 0, 1, 2, 3 all the way to the 9. Because there are totally 10 people or 10 items in this array, and if you add them together, the total is going to be 10 instead of 9, because we start from 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So totally 10, and the length for this array is going to be 10. Okay, now this is array. And actually, you could have an example right here. So if you go to Canvas, and you could find this file, the Recitation09 array basics initial.html, and you could find this file, and please download it. And because it is the basic skeleton and a start point for today's recitation work actually. So if you download it and open it from your Notepad++ or some other editor, you go to this line to check this array. So you could say maybe on this line I start by declaring a variable names. This is a variable because I put a var in front of this name. Okay, so it is var. It is a thing on the left hand side of this equal sign. But what's happening on the right hand side is that I write a new array. So if I write new, which means I create array, I just initialize array by just using this new, by using this new. Okay, and in this array, I just randomly put 10 human names, 10 human English names inside this array. So maybe you don't like this drawing name, you could delete it, but it's just a random name. Okay. So in this array, there's a totally 10 English names inside this array. Okay. So actually, this is a function, or this is a purpose of array. Array will group, something with the same feature together to do a better job actually. So this array with 10 names inside. Okay. So this array, and let's take a look on the loop. So actually, in computer science, for other programming languages like Java or C, the loop are widely used because they are pretty useful and pretty handy. So because if you want to run the same code over and over again, and each time you give iteration a different value, the loop would be the best option, instead of you write the same code maybe for hundreds of lines. It is so bad, because if you create a loop with maybe just a few lines, it's better than you write the same thing for 100 lines. Alright, so basically we use for and for in and while and do while, maybe this four situations for the loops, but today maybe I just do the for loops. Okay. So about the syntax of the loop, you can see this slide. So for the for loop, actually, this is for, and this how the for loop will end up will be restricted by this three statement or three fields. So the first one is a starting point, the second one define the condition for executing, and the third one is after each executing, what will happen to the variable. I will do a little demo later. So this is a first array we just talked about maybe 5 minutes ago. So, and this is a second array actually. So for this one, this is a book. So I just build a new array with a number 10 inside, and after this I have a for loop right here. So let's take a look in this parentheses actually. So I declare a new variable I right here. I assign 0 to this I, and there's a comma, not a comma, but yeah. So, and after this is the second statement. So if this I is smaller than 10, then this loop will execute it. Will continue to execute. So after each execution, the I will be increment by 1. So this I plus plus is actually equals to I plus 1. Yeah, so it's just an increment by 1, but right here I just use I plus plus. Alright. So anyway, so this one we start with I equals to 0. Okay, this is the first iteration. So totally the iteration is going to execute it like 10 times, because we start with I equals to 0, and then to determine if the 0 is smaller than 10, yes, and then the I plus plus, so the I at this time is going to be 1. So in this way it will go into the next iteration. So for the next iteration right here is going to be 1. But I just keep it 0. But you could imagine what's happened for the next iteration. So for the next, the I is going to be 1. 1 is still smaller than 10, and I at this time is still 1 plus plus equals to 2. So for the third iteration, the I equals to 2, and 2 still smaller than 10, and 2 plus plus is going to be 3. So for each iteration, the body part will be executed once. Okay, so totally there's going to be 10 execution for this maybe 4 lines of the code. Okay. So in the body part, we have actually a variable rnd on the left hand side of the equal sign. I think for this one you're pretty familiar, because this is the function you used for last assignment, right? So which means randomly generate a number from 10 to 99. Okay, so which means for each iteration, this one will generate a random number and assign this number to the rnd. And for the next line, this rnd will transfer the value inside to this box I. So maybe for the first iteration, the I equals to 0, and 0 still smaller than 10, and I plus plus plus, it's going to be 1. So, but actually the body part happens first than this one. So when it goes to this line, generate a random number. Maybe I say it's 44. So generate a random number 44, and assign this 44 to this R&D. So R&D right here equals to 44. So, and for this line, the 44 is going to be transferred to this box 0. Okay. So maybe for example, there's totally 10 items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So I got a value of 44 right here. So, and I assign this value to the first item. So right here, the value is going to be 44 for this 0. No, for this first item. 44 for this first time item. Okay. So this is the first iteration. And for the next, the I equals to 1, and the 1 is still smaller than 10. Okay. So let's again go inside this body. Maybe this time generate randomly, maybe 20. Okay. Assign this 20 to this R&D, and assign this R&D to box 1. So box 1 means it's this item. It's this item. Okay. So assign this R&D to this box 1. The index number is 1. Okay. It's 20 right here. So maybe it's not good to use the 0. Maybe. Yeah, just use the number. Okay, so for each iteration, the value assignment will happen once. Okay, so this is a logic. And once the I get into 10, because 10 is not smaller than 10 anymore, the whole process will end up at this point. Will end up right here, because the 10. Oh, sorry, this shouldn't be a 10 right here, because there's totally 10 items. So the index 9 is the last one. So when it gets to 10, because 10 is greater than this, smaller than this 10, okay, so this for loop will stop, because this condition is not satisfied anymore, because 10 is not smaller than 10, and then it will stop. Okay, so yeah, there's totally 10 iterations for this one. Okay, actually this is a final result that we want to accomplish today. So if you run your initial skeleton, you could say this stuff right here. But if I run the final version I just finished, you could say this one. So which means this one traverse box owned in order. Just randomly generate 10 hours and just traverse the whole thing. And traverse names, just let's see, traverse this 10 names. Okay. And the traverse box owned reversely, you just reverse this array, because you're starting from 75 for the first one. So for this problem, the 75 is going to be the last one, and the 37 is going to be the first one. Okay. And also traverse names in reverse order. You just reverse the whole array of name array. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. And also the average for the book, you just add them together and divide it by 10 to get the average. And the largest number is right here. You could say it by human vision. It's 99, right? And who owns the most books? I think is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's Dave, right? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 99 div. Right.